Hey you, and welcome. My name's Mike, and in this whole video we're going to Fargo. Don't you know? How's that? Does my only knowledge of the city come from the Coen Brothers movie? No. Why do you ask? This story takes us to the distant year of 2017. What a time to be alive! And although this one is minus, wood chippers and Steve Buscemi, it's equally as funny looking. Not ha-ha funny. It is in Fargo that Savanna Greywind lived, and from there, we will give it a go. So, Fargo, North Dakota, what do you hear? What do you say? Well, it is the most populous city in North Dakota, home to about 125,000 people. It sits on the Red River, which also acts as a border between North Dakota and Minnesota. So, what else has Fargo got? Sell me it! It's somewhat safe as cities of that size go. High rate of employment. In fact, get a load of this. Fargo has been ranked as one of the hottest job markets and has a rapid growth rate. But unlike the job market, the weather can get cold. Very cold. Unless you like snow, what are you doing here? Minus 20 degrees Celsius in the winter. Mein Gott, a lot of Norwegians and Germans. Then in the summer it goes up to about 20 degrees Celsius. And speaking of summertime, that's enough patter, right? Let's go to summer. Specifically, August 2017. Despacito was blaring on the radio. Pretty soon we'd all wish it wasn't. The weather was hot, talking 25 to 28 degrees. And to get out of the heat, you might go to the pictures. There was actually fuck all on in the cinema around that time. Apart from Wind River. That's a great movie. And it talks about crimes against Native American women. Relevant. In August of 2017, a young Native American woman named Savanna Greywind went missing. She just vanished from her apartment building, and she was 8 months pregnant. Savanna was born in 1995, a member of the Spirit Lake Sioux tribe. She was born in Belcourt, moved to Fargo as a kid, then to a reservation, and back to Fargo in 2016. In 2017, she was 8 months pregnant with her longtime boyfriend, Ashton Matheny. They'd soon be having a baby girl. Savanna and Ashton had been together for 6 years at this point. Although Savanna wasn't actually allowed to date by her parents until she was 18 years old, so the first couple of years were, covert-like. At the time of her disappearance, 22-year-old Savanna was living in the basement apartment of 2825 9th Street North in Fargo. She lived there with her parents, brother, and sister. There were 4 kids in the Greywind family, Savanna, the eldest. One of the reasons they moved back to Fargo from the Spirit Lake Reservation was for Savanna, in fact. She loved working with the elderly and was great with kids, so she wanted to go on and make that a career, become a nurse. So they moved to Fargo and she could go to school there. Ashton, he worked in construction, so he moved around a bit, the North Dakota-Minnesota area. But Ashton and Savanna had been together for 6 years at this point, and for them, they weren't planning on making a change. So Saturday, August 19th, 2017, that is when our story begins. Depending on when your notion of begins. Savanna was due. She was due very, very soon. You're at that point where you're, counting down the days. And then so close to giving birth, she just vanished from the apartment building. That Saturday, the 19th, Savanna, she had just been milling around the family apartment, chilling out, putting the feet up. She had ordered a pizza. And then at about 1:30 p.m. that afternoon, a neighbour knocked. The neighbour asked, pre-pizza time, if Savanna would mind just coming up to her apartment upstairs. She's sewing a dress and, she needs somebody to model it while she's doing it. This woman, the upstairs neighbour, was 36-year-old Brooke Cruz. She said, hey, there's $20 in it for you. Only take a second. She went up, Before she did, she texted her mother telling her where she was going, and also she texted Ashton, who at the time was house sitting for his mother in Grand Forks, maybe an hour and a half away to the north. And that was it. After that, Savanna, she disappeared. About an hour and a half later, at 3 p.m, Savanna's mother, Norberta, she asked Savanna's little brother to go up and check on her. But he got no answer after knocking on Brooke's door. A couple of minutes later, Savanna's dad, Joe, he goes up then to check on her. He's like, hey, what's going on? Brooke, she answered the door, said, yeah, we're still, doing our thing. So be down in a sec. The family said, alright, fine. Went off, did their bits and bobs. So Norberta, she went off, drove around, did her bits of shopping and her few odds and ends. About an hour later, she realizes Savanna is still not home. She runs up and starts banging on Brooke's door. What the fuck is going on? Brooke answered, saying, yeah, Savanna left. She left ages ago. Savanna's car was still in the driveway, her wallet at home. She wasn't answering her mobile phone either. Now, Norberta thought to herself she wouldn't have gone anywhere on foot. She's, 8 months pregnant, heavily pregnant at this point. She ain't walking anywhere. Savanna was reported missing at 4:27 p.m. Officers arriving at the apartment at 5 p.m.
My daughter is missing. She's 22 years old. She's pregnant. She's not answering her phone. She has not been on Facebook. Is she vulnerable or what? No, this is not like her at all.
The Greywinds immediately go. See, although the Greywind family knew everybody who lived in that apartment building, they weren't overly friendly, with the other occupants. I mean, they'd only been living there for a year. But Savanna's mother, Norberta, did not like Brooke Cruz or her boyfriend, 32-year-old William Hain. Her dislike of, Brooke mainly, was especially rampant when, just 2 weeks previous to this, Brooke came down, knocked on the door and asked if a heavily pregnant Savanna wanted to go up and smoke pot with her. So the cops went upstairs to speak with Brooke and William.
Fargo, please.
Hi.
Sorry about you.
Oh my God, you're tall.
I tried.
Hi, my name is Brooke.
Is it possible if we take a look in your bathroom?
Yeah. You can look anywhere. We got busy chatting. Her dad came up and said that, mom wanted to see her or call her or whatever. And she didn't call. She got up and went out. And the last time I saw her.
They were invited in, Brooke and William said they hadn't seen Savanna in a while. She left. They had done their modelling, sewing, all that kind of stuff. And then after Joe knocked on the door, Savanna left shortly after that. Said she was going downstairs and... The police looked around apartment number 5. And they saw sewing equipment. Brooke and William, they had no issue with the police poking around. Yeah, go ahead. Snoop around. The only thing that was, odd is why would you ask a pregnant woman to, model a dress for you while you're sewing it? I mean, unless it's a pregnancy dress. So nothing was found. The police said they'd keep a lookout. And for the time being, that was that. The Greywinds, they call the police again later that Saturday night. Still no sign of her. And the police go up and they check again to Brooke and William's apartment. Brooke Cruz and William Hain's apartment. Nothing there again.
So what's going on? Yeah.
We're still looking.
Okay.
At this point, yes, we're still in operation like
I've
that.
been wanting to ask them.
On Sunday night, the next day, with no sign of Savanna, the police search Brooke and William's apartment for a third time and find jack shit. It was Tuesday that the searches for Savanna, they really begin in earnest. Ashton was brought in, though his alibi swiftly checked out. They didn't know where to begin, to be honest. They searched the place she was last, in. Nothing was found in the apartment. I mean, they searched it 3 times, so from there, where?
As time slips by, worry grows deep for Savanna Greywind loved ones.
She's a great woman, man.
Ashton Matheny, her boyfriend of 7 years, spending every minute he can spreading the word about her disappearance.
It's very unlike her to just up and disappear like that without telling anything, and I don't think that she would do that. We're just about to move into our apartment.
As these posters go up, police say canines searched, coming up empty-handed. Though police haven't said it, her family believes she's in danger. Her mother, Norberta, reaching out via Facebook, hoping for a lead to point their search in the right direction.
Any details at all help. Even just the littlest detail can help a lot, you know.
The last anyone heard from her was a texting conversation with Ashton, where he says she stopped replying right before 1:30 Saturday.
We were sitting there joking around in our texts. I wish I would have talked to her on the phone. I can't tell you how she was feeling at the time without like an emotional, but from the text messages from the last time, it seemed like she was happy.
Tips begin coming in, with one person saying that, well, they saw Savanna around the time she was last seen, and she was getting into a red truck. William Hain drove a red truck. They spoke with him again. Nothing changed. He said he came in, he saw Brooke and Savanna there, and then was like, alright, hi, hello, and went into his computer. He never saw Savanna again. She left at some point.
What did she say? Something to that effect of, hi honey, this is Savanna. She left our place shortly after her dad knocked. I didn't physically see her leave our place.
They asked him about the red truck that had been tipped in. One a witness said Savanna got into, and neighbours said William drove a red truck. He said, yeah, but I just borrowed it from my boss. I didn't even have that red truck that day. So the police then go and check with William's boss. William worked at a roofing company in Fargo, and the boss says, yeah, I lent William that red truck. You know, it's mine. He had it. The boss said, yeah, I lent him that truck. He said he just had a baby or whatever, so I... Slow your roll. Baby? They searched his place 3 times. They interviewed him. He never once mentioned having a baby. 4 days after Savanna disappeared, police learned he'd actually been going around telling folk he just had a baby. What the shit? Okay, this is, mess up, I'm telling you. The twists in this one, it'll hurt your neck. They started following Brooke and William. Maybe, just maybe, they thought they might have Savanna captive somewhere and were, baby stealing. They hoped they'd lead them to Savanna. They had no clue where she was. Pinging her mobile phone was not leading anywhere. They needed something, and something fast, when a pregnant woman goes missing. It was on Thursday, the 22nd of August, that police raided the apartment. Brooke had actually put a couch in front of the door, so they had to bust it in. Inside, they found Brooke. And as they were, closely examining the apartment for any kind of clues, they find one. They find a big one. In the apartment, lying on the bed, was a baby. Looked to be a couple of days old. The baby was rushed to hospital. Brooke was taken in. She refused to answer any questions. Police also arrested William Hain. He told more than Brooke, and he said that when he came home that day, that Saturday, Brooke was there. She had a baby with her and she was cleaning up blood, and told him not to ask any questions. He then helped get rid of garbage bags and bloody towels.
She just put the baby on the cops came. The baby was right there. He just didn't see it. The baby was right there. A little bad, I didn't want to go out and spend money for a crib right away because I've been trying to get caught up on rent to make sure the electric don't get shut off. How does she keep, baby from crying? It's just a really good baby. Oh.
Brooke eventually changed her story, and what she said was this. That day, when Savanna came up to the apartment, Savanna delivered the baby in the apartment. But then, she's like, nah, baby, not for me. I don't want it. Brooke, you can have it. So, according to Brooke, Savanna just had a baby, handed it to Brooke, and then just fucked off. There's a Savanna Greywind shaped hole in the door. Gone. but neither would help say, where Savanna was now.
They're gonna find her blood in your goddamn apartment.
They're not gonna find her blood in my goddamn apartment.
They're gonna find her blood.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are. Will told us what happened. Yep. He told the whole damn story. He was sick. He was visibly sick, telling us what happened.
I don't know what he told you.
But now you're the one doesn't care enough to even give her that. You thought he was going to leave you.
No.
You couldn't give him a baby.
No, that's not true.
You knew what you had to do.
I thought he was gonna leave me if I couldn't give him a baby.
So the search continued.
35 detectives, 4 sergeants, 2 lieutenants, a deputy chief, patrol officers, canines, 3 aircraft, watercraft.
That's just some of the work that's happened as police continue their investigation into the disappearance. More than 200 people combed Trollwood Park for 22-year-old Savanna Greywind yesterday. This comes after authorities found a newborn baby at an apartment on Thursday.
8 days after Savanna disappeared, kayakers discovered a human-shaped bag along the Red River, caught on a log. It was determined to be Savanna.
The body was pulled out of the river by law enforcement at about 8:20 this evening, and at about 9:20 that body was identified as Savanna Greywind. Savanna Greywind will be brought, I believe, to the Ramsey County examiner, and the family has been notified.
It had been pretty brutal how she had been murdered. She had been strangled to the point of unconsciousness, and then her stomach was cut open with a knife, and the baby was taken. Brooke and William were charged with conspiracy to commit murder, conspiracy to commit kidnapping, and providing false information to police. They weren't charged directly with murder at this point because, well, they couldn't actually say who killed Savanna. Was William in it the whole time, or was he genuinely surprised about what happened? Was his story true that he came home and he was, oh? It seemed like though it would take more than one person to, subdue Savanna and do what was done. Brooke, although she lived just with William, she had 7 children of her own by 5 different men. She didn't have much contact with any of her children, and in fact, she had been sued for child support by 2 of those men. She moved around a bit. She had lived in Australia at one point. Her favourite part of marriage was the new surname. William, he had 2 kids of his own. One he had physically abused, fracturing its skull. So clearly, they thought to themselves, hey, we're such great parents. Why not get another one? But, the whole pregnancy part, yuck. Brooke actually couldn't have babies anymore. She had her tubes tied. So one or both decided to take Savanna's. Perhaps they'd been planning it for a while. Remember, 2 weeks previous, Brooke had tried to invite Savanna up to, smoke pot. Among the items found in the apartment, well, they found essentially a home delivery guide and a list of shit to buy. It's not believed anybody else was involved. How involved each were, well, that was really the question. They were both, Brooke and William were pointing the finger at each other, and they both pleaded not guilty. Brooke eventually said that when Savanna came up, they had some kind of argument. They fought, and Savanna struck her head in the bathroom. And then Brooke cut the baby out of her. But she didn't say she killed her. What she did say was that she was trying to convince William that she was pregnant. She was afraid he would leave her. So she made up, fake doctor's appointments and all that, and then was gonna get a baby. Brooke eventually pled guilty to conspiracy to commit murder and conspiracy to commit kidnapping. She was sentenced to life in prison without parole.
A cold-blooded killer.
The prosecution detailed graphic details behind Savanna Greywind's murder. First, that Cruz admitted to luring Savanna into her apartment with the intention of taking Savanna's baby.
I did cut her, and then I took her baby out of her. She was not dead when I cut her and took her baby out of her. Ms. Greywind then performed a crude C-section without the benefit of anesthetic.
We also learned that during the search of Savanna, Cruz went out in public with the baby, Hazley Joe.
Cruz admitted she brought the baby to Walmart late at night in public.
In the final statement, Brooke Cruz spoke to the courtroom.
I am guilty, and I deserve every year I get. I just wanted them to know that I am sorry for what I...
William's trial began in 2018. He pled guilty to conspiracy to commit kidnapping, right? Basically, he said he didn't have anything to do with Savanna's death, but he did help cover it up. He genuinely said he thought Brooke was pregnant. And that was, well, until he came home and found what he found. So not a bright spark. Brooke would testify at his trial. She would point the finger at William, saying he knew everything. He was in on it with her. He was the one going around telling people Brooke was pregnant, and then he went to her and demanded she produce a baby.
That was when he said to me, he had told everybody that I was pregnant, and I needed to produce a baby.
Where did your mind go from there when you heard those comments from Mr. Hain?
Frantic. What am I going to do? I took that to mean that I better have a baby, and it didn't matter how I got it.
Did he make any mention about anyone in particular that was pregnant that lived nearby?
He did. He came up from work one day. It was either the following Tuesday or the Tuesday after that. And he said, I just seen that Greywind girl downstairs and she's really pregnant.
How are you interpreting that in the context of your relationship with him?
I was interpreting it as we could get the baby from her.
Not only that, he was the one who killed Savanna.
I pushed her. She hit her head on the bathroom sink. I started cutting the baby out.
Is she still unconscious during this time?
No, she woke up.
How do you subdue her or get her to stop moving around?
I kind of leaned on her with my right arm. He stuck his head through and he was like, what the fuck? Is she alive? And I said, I don't know. Please help me. He put the rope around her neck and he pulled it tight. And he said, if she wasn't dead before, she is now.
But then at the trial, a prison informant told the jury that, in prison, Brooke had been saying she did it herself, so. Ultimately, William was found not guilty on the charge of conspiracy to commit murder. Brooke, frankly, baby cakes, you're unbelievable.
I also know that I'm ashamed of my actions. That I would not and could not act as I did on those days ever again. I'm not a crazed criminal, but I know that I acted crazy from a place of wrong.
William was originally sentenced to life in prison. However, the North Dakota Supreme Court overruled that, and he was sentenced to 20 years in prison. And that just about wraps up this tragic, horrific, disturbing tale. Thankfully, Hazley Joe, Savanna's baby, and Ashton are doing fine in Fargo. So at least a part of Savanna is still going strong. A part of her, lives on. Honestly, this is the most twisted story I've come across, and we've talked about here in a while, I think. Police would get in shit, basically, for acting too slow when she disappeared, not looking hard enough because, well, she was Native American, and so they didn't give a shit. Police would say, no, we look after, we treat everybody equally. And it's like, alright, here, come on, pull the other one. this is a crazy story. They should make a movie about this. Probably called Fargo or something, you know? Hasn't been done, right? Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you taking the time to be here with me. Here, listen, go on. I'll see you as always real soon in the next Soul. Until then, please take care of yourselves. I love you. Mike out.